Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Don, and today's video is about Flatlay photography. I just wanted to give you guys 5 tips that I think are really helpful when you're planning and or shooting your Flatlay photos. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so the first tip that I want to talk about is that you want to shoot with intent. You want to plan your shot. You don't just want to throw everything into the shot. That way the shot can get very overcrowded really easily and things just start getting really unorganized, and then you get a photo that just looks too cluttered and not very appealing to look at. So let's take a look at the first photo here. In the first photo you can see that I have most of my film cameras laid out. I have my Sony in the middle of the frame, my Hasselblad medium format on top. We've got a large format up in the upper left quadrant of the frame. And then I kind of have flash accessories and lenses scattered throughout. I have a 200 to 600 on the left lower corner to kind of balance out the photo. I have my Ronin on the lower right side because it's kind of as tall as when we're looking top down, the 200 to 600, so it kind of balances out the photo. So I wanted to take a photo of most of my gear in this one frame. But I wanted it to be appealing to look at. So I kind of started out with this middle spinal, with the 4 film cameras. I have a Canon A28 at the bottom, the Canon TLB on top of that. We have the Canon AE1 without the grip on top of that. To the right diagonal on top of that, we have the AE1 program with the grip. And then on the left side of the center, we have a Canon A1 with a grip on it. And I mean, that's pretty much it. You can't fit much more into this photo without making it look ridiculous. So all I want to really stress in this tip is that plan your shots and have an idea before you go into it. Otherwise, things just get cluttered very fast. Okay, so tip 2 is that if you're photographing on a limited surface like a table, you want to be sure to give yourself some negative space to make sure that your photos, just like I was saying in tip 1, so that your photos don't get crowded and messy real quick. Also, that negative space is going to give your photos some balance and just make them more appealing overall. So we're going to look at some examples for tip 2. As you can see in the second photo I have up here of the film cameras, it's still the basic structure that I had in the overall photo that had pretty much 90% of my gear in it, or 98% of my gear, I should say. But the negative space around all the items that I have in this photo and in between the items, I believe really gives it structure. Okay, so one of the problems with this photo is that even though there's negative space in the photo and it looks good, there's still things like the details need to be sorted out, which brings me into tip 3, which is details and textures. The details really make the photo pop, so while there are the main film cameras in the photo, you still want those little details like rolls of film or lens caps or straps or anything like that, little accessories that you can place around the scene to really make the scene pop. Now you'll notice from the start position where photo 2 began at, I started to really think about the details and where I wanted to position things. So I took the strap out of its elastic band prison and I let it free. I let it kind of run the straps along the frame, and I really think it helps it pop. Now one of the problems here is that I didn't give myself enough negative space on the right side of the photo, and I really think it takes away from the photo because it kind of distracts your eyes towards the right side of the photo. This is something that, even though I made this mistake, I just want to point it out, as you always want to be aware of that negative space. It's not the same as the Hasselblad strap, which is trailing off frame on purpose, which I kind of think lends to the entire photo. But for the strap that is all in frame, and because it's kind of skirting along the edge of the frame, that doesn't look too appealing. So this photo had 4 iterations. If we don't focus on the strap on the right, you can see I kind of moved the other film around to make it more appealing, to give it more balance. On 3 of the films, they're pretty much just gray and black, and the other 2 films got some green, got some blue, got some white, got some black. So I thought that moving them around would give it a little bit more balance and make the photo much more appealing. Continuing on with how important details and textures are, you can see in this next photo, I have a picture of a 501 Hasselblad up on screen. And in this next photo, you're gonna see that while I like the initial shot where I shot it, if I switch to the second photo, I think the second photo is just a little bit more positioned directly overhead of the medium format Hasselblad, and thus, to my eyes, making it a little bit more appealing to me. So even though it is a small detail, it does make a big difference when you look at the 2 photos side by side. So just be aware of your shooting position. It's so important for the end result. And then once again, with my large format Arca Swiss camera, you can see in the first photo that while it looks appealing by itself, Once you compare it to the second photo where I straightened out the side rails and I straightened out the film back of the large format, it looks way more appealing. The lines look straighter, everything just really balances each other. And then I took it one further step and I took the lens cap off the Schneider lens and put it on the right side of the frame. This really balanced out the entire picture, I think, rather than having it inside the old style shooter, that's the sound it makes. That sound effect is staying in there. So, you know, really be aware of how you're positioning things on the table. Really be aware that if things look wonky, if your lines look off, just like in my original photo, there is one thing that bothers me, which is that, and I'll put it back up on screen, which is that my Arca Swiss is just a little tilted off, so it makes the rest of everything around it look a little bit wonky. If you're looking at the photo overall, you might not notice it, but once you really start to look at everything and how straight everything else is, then it's just like, you know, I should have fixed that. Once again, the more time you put in, the better result you're going to get in the end. Moving on to tip 4 is to not be afraid to move around your lighting to change the mood of the photo. It may not look good at first, but just don't be afraid to be creative. Don't be afraid to kind of break the rules. You know, it doesn't always have to be lit from directly top down or lit from directly in front of you, kind of at a 45-degree angle. You know, do experiment with the lighting. What I tried to do in one of these photos is create lighting as if the sun was setting, so that it would create a very elongated shadow on the items that I had on the ground. Now, I couldn't get the effect that I wanted, but I did get a much moodier shot with this second photo that I have on screen right now. So I didn't change around the positioning of the gear or anything, but I did get a shot that I liked much more. So that's just my 4th tip, is that don't be afraid to move around your lighting, and then see what kind of different results that you get because of that. So my last tip is to say, just get creative with Flatlay photography. Flatlay photography, like any other genre, becomes really fun when you just think outside the box. So I mean, go shoot on different backgrounds, different backdrops, different materials, bring in different accessories, shoot at a different time of day, you know, adjust your light and use different lights, you know, use hot lights, use soft lights, do whatever, bring in gels. The sky's really the limit. And I really think that's what makes this genre fun, especially that it's new to me and, you know, I'm just getting into it. So if you guys like this video, if you guys took anything from this video, if this helped you out at all, leave a comment down below, like and subscribe to the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.